Hi there.
Hiya.
Hello.
This is so exciting. I'm so happy about this.
So, Mariana.
Yeah, this is my dream come true. Thanks for making my dream come true about Scottish voices, just chatting away.
You wanted to bring us all together. We're here in the name of Scotland.
Yeah. Can you guys introduce yourselves and talk about where you're from in Scotland?
Yeah, well, I'm Natalie Clark and I am from Glasgow in Scotland, and moved to Los Angeles over here a few years ago.
I'm Jonathan Dury. I was born in Kirkcaldy in Fife, and I've been 3 years in Los Angeles.
That's so cool. And what do you guys do? What are your jobs?
I'm a singer-songwriter, musician.
I'm a writer, actor and producer.
See, that's why it's so epic that we get to chat, because I have also received a book from John that is about the Scottish language, which is what this is basically about as well. So lots of people are aware of other languages, but Scottish people don't say that this is a language. The way we speak, they don't talk about it as a language. They don't think of it as a language when it is.
We've definitely got our own thing going on.
It's a really interesting book. You've nicked my only copy though, Palka.
I still have it, by the way. I'm never giving that back. So
yeah, keep it forever. It's fine. That's an amazing book, and actually, it was really important for me to read. I was really into languages at school. I loved French. I've been trying to learn Italian recently, but that book really helped me understand Scotland's place in Europe and Scotland's place, with the Latin language, which was used in Scotland far longer than it was in England. And it just really made me reflect on our linguistic heritage a lot and think about actually we should respect the way we speak a lot more. And I was doing a lot of kind of thinking about the way I was taught to speak and how anglicized my speech became, because that was the thing that was wanted,
Right. And what's the name of the book and who's it by again? So people can get it.
It's called SCOTS, the Mother Tongue, and it's by Billy Mackay.
And that's spelled, mother's spelled M-I.
Yeah, M-I-T-H-E-R.
Which is so cool. And Natalie, you're probably going to write a song about this after you've read the book, because
I need to read this.
It's really special.
I can't believe I've not read it.
Very, how anything to do with Scotland is just very magical, and it's got that vibe. It has that complete vibe. It just feels like our voice sounding out.
Wow, amazing.
And it is a relief. When I read it, it felt like a relief.
I think that's a really good point about a complete vibe. Like, it is quite an earthy book. It's about folk. It's quite couthy, but it's also a really solid history, a kind of sort of anthropological history of who we are as a nation and who Scottish people are and where they came from and what influences we have and how, unpretentious we were about our influences. I feel like there wasn't any kind of nationalistic bragging about the influences in Scotland. We're like, oh, great, let's have a bit of Flemish, let's have a bit of, French, let's mix it all together and just use these words as they come.
Amazing.
I think it's really empowering. I think it's also really empowering that Natalie Clark sings in her wee Scottish accent as well. It
does pop out, every now and then. Yeah.
I love it because Americans are like, oh, she's got a Scottish lilt. They always call it a lilt.
I know, I've heard that. That's definitely comment on the lilt. That's one of the first points of conversation, actually, usually, when I meet people out here, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, I don't feel that it's the Scottish accent is that common out here. There's not a huge contingent of Scottish people out here. Do you guys find that? Or have you...
It's rarefied here up here.
The fact that we found each other. The Scottish people.
But Mariana, you're like a magnet for Scottish people. Everybody finds you.
That's true. That's true.
I'm like the Queen of Scotland, if you like. Do you know what I mean? Like,
You are. You actually are, though.
I feel like I do have like Stuart blood, actually, to be honest. But I just think that people resonate with what is happening when a person is saying something in their native tongue. Like, I think that just hits really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone can everyone can hear when you're saying something that is your natural way of speaking, your natural way, what you were, how you were taught to speak, and the sort of mythology around like what it means to be Scottish and all of that is like completely communicated in just the way we speak.
Yeah, there's a truth in it. It just comes, it's like there's no getting away from it, you know what I mean? It's just the truth comes out in our accents, I think.
That's what's attractive about it. That's why, people are like, oh my God, you're so charming. Or like, oh my God, as an actor as well, when you're funny, when you're Scottish and something, you're funny, you're naturally funny. And that's also really amazing. It's like different than a different accent. Mm-hmm. And obviously Sean Connery's been living off of that and working off of that his whole life. So
come on,
there's
Sean.
something about that, there's something about Scotland and how people, like what people associate with it. It's a very positive association. It's like, all right, like those people over there are free, or they're like, they've got something figured out about life, or mm-hmm. they're magical or whatever.
I really think that it's funny because we were talking about Natalie having like a stronger brogue than the rest of us, but I really do associate people from the West Coast. Like my mum's family are all from there, and there's a certain like honesty and earnestness and like openness to that part of the country that I just love. And I think part of the reason why Natalie's music resonates with me so much is just that she shares so much of her heart. Like it's just all out there, it's true and it's vulnerable, and it's so great to hear that, because I think so much of our music now is like really contrived and it's run through a machine, and I think people on the West Coast don't even know how to do that. Like there's not even an option.
Wow, that's so nice, John. Thank you for that. I think that it's the only way that I've ever written is just sort of straight from the heart and straight to the point. You know what I mean? There's no messing around. Actually used to think like, I wondered, or when I was just starting to write, whether, there was that sort of almost like insecurity or naivety, that, I was thinking perhaps I needed to make it a bit more cryptic, or like, like try and be more poetic and things like that. But for some reason, none of that kind of worked. I think the truth is more interesting, and I just found my way of writing was definitely more sort of basic and simple, and getting to the heart of it, as quick as possible.
Yeah, but I think it's a great instinct. I think it's a really good instinct to be truthful and to, there's such a drive for honesty and for that kind of hard-working directness and so much of what comes out of Scotland. And I think it's just a wonderful impulse that we have. I'm very proud of it myself.
Yes. Yeah. Me too, actually. Yes.
It does feel like culturally, when you put two Scottish people together to make something, it's like 1 + 1 = infinity, because we've got that shorthand and we've got that understanding of what it really is to be creative in our authentic way,
Mm-hmm.
And it does feel like there's a lack of ego around all of that. It's not it is sort of frowned upon to be egotistical or think highly of yourself. That's part of the Scottish culture, I think, at least from where I'm coming from in Glasgow. I think that's what I've been like benefiting from,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like the humility.
Mm-hmm. I think that's an interesting point, because so often that becomes a lack of self-confidence. The dark underside of that is, yes, we're very humble and we have that ability to plug into one another and operate in this great spirit of equality. But also, I'm sure as you found, Mariana, when it comes time to lead, and you've got to direct people and you've got to be in charge, it can be a little bit daunting because we're not used to putting ourselves ahead of other folk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually true as well. I think that there's definitely a sense of, oh my goodness, who would want to hear my voice? People coming up have that feeling, and then they
absolutely.
go, actually, everyone wants to hear my voice. We'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely working on that, you know, because I think it's so deeply ingrained, you know, it's just that sort of cultural thing of not wanting to necessarily speak up, but just that fear, like, you know, do I have anything important to say? Do, you know, who would want to hear what I'm saying, or, you know, expressing or singing or whatever. But it's still something that I work on a day-to-day basis, and I've not quite figured it out yet, but I do feel that it's only in the last few years that I've found, I feel like I've found my voice, and starting at least to believe that, you know, there's something of value, because it's each person, each human has, you know, that value to share, and just sort of overcoming any of those insecurities, or, you know, that deeply ingrained sort of cultural belief that, you know, you don't want to shout and, you know what I mean. But anyway, it's something that I'm working on, and something that dawned on me, like, with recently, you know, with writing and songs and things like that. It's almost like it's like putting it, you know, your sort of ego or your insecurities aside to say that maybe what you have to say could be helpful in some way and useful in some way.
Like you're of service to somebody else.
Rather than it be like, I've got something important to say. It's like almost like, well, you know, if I put my insecurity or sort of fear aside, maybe something that I'm saying or singing could resonate, and it could be of, you know, of use. And that's kind of what I've been tuning into recently. And whenever I feel that sort of fear or anything, it's just might, you know, kind of get out of the way of yourself and just like just express whatever it is that's in your heart to express, because it could be of use, it could be of value.
I think the idea of getting out of the way of yourself is huge, you know. I think there's a self-limiting that comes sometimes from a Scottish upbringing, but like there's a natural stopping mechanism of like, I've gone so far, and now I feel like I've gone as far as is reasonable to go, or is like fair on everyone else to go, and overcoming that has been a challenge for me as well. And I think the reason I love acting is you get to put on a mask and be someone else, but I'm very, very loath to accept any kind of personal recognition at all. I'm like, I don't want to promote, I don't want to be, I find that stuff so hard, and that's been my big work on the last couple of years.
That's what I was thinking of when I first came out to the States when I was 17, and I was doing plays in New York off Broadway. I was like, wait, what am I doing here? Like, am I allowed to do this? Isn't everyone in Scotland going to go, how dare you do that? You know what I mean? It felt like the whole culture might be ruptured by the audacity of me just going on the stage as a Glaswegian woman at 17 years old. Like, I was like, can Scotland handle this? Probably not, but I'm probably going to do it anyway. And that was so interesting, because I remember feeling the metamorphosis of actually accepting the fact that that was going to be okay, and then maybe things would change and other things would stay the same about who I am, but it didn't make me more or less Scottish. You know what I mean? And the people who were my friends were the ones, and my family, my mom and everyone, were so supportive, you know, the ones who were like my real friends, because there's a lot of people who just for their own reasons want to kind of pull you down or whatever, which I just didn't really listen to those voices. I kind of tried to push the ones that were telling me that they believed in me and that I could do anything, and then I sort of took that wee formula and put it into other stuff, like making a film and then acting in other people's things that, you know, that wasn't plays but maybe was a bigger thing than a play. And I've just kind of tried to do that so that genuinely there's loads of Scottish people out there listening to this going, yeah, I feel that way as well, you know. And I think that's also why it's really important to chat about it, because it feels like it's sort of, we're talking a wee bit about what it means to be free. You know what I mean? Like, we've really been put upon and pressed as a culture by other cultures, you know? And I think that what is amazing about being Scottish and being able to speak this way and have the shorthand that we have is that feeling that, you know, maybe we're free already.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. I think just like what you were saying about, you know, over from that 17-year-old you were in New York to like where you are now, it's like taking all those years to sort of cultivate that confidence to then take, as you say, that formula and then put it into all the different avenues of your life and your career, and just sort of having the freedom to do that. But yeah, what a cool thought.
And it's so important for a small country to have role models. You know, it really, really is, especially that come from a cultural context that we can understand.
Mm-hmm.
I just think there have been so many artists who've been excluded or kept at the margins because they weren't understood in a broader cultural context.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like now we're really trying to get right down the middle with getting Scottish artists front and centre. And of course, that means those artists have to take big risks. And I think that's what I find so inspiring in your story, Mariana, is that you just kept ramping it up and incrementally taking those risks and pushing those boundaries. And you always did it with a smile on your face, and you always did it happily and joyfully. It never seemed to be a kind of grind through. So yeah, I think it's really important, and it's really important for young women in Scotland to see that too.
Yeah. I agree. It's just like seeing that as such an inspiration. Anyway, go ahead, Mariana, because yes, I concur with John.
We concur with the teenagers in Scotland, because I've got loads of wee squad teenagers who I know about, and they're all, you know, facing these massive fears about what it means to really be technically a wild person, you know, like just having a natural sense of being wild and free and having a vigor that's completely associated with who they are and what their culture is, and then how difficult that is then to make that make sense when you're not seeing Scottish people on TV, because the TV usually is you know, if it's not American, it's English or whatever. So like you've got a wee bit of Scottish, like BBC Scotland, maybe you've got BBC Alba, you've got some things where, you know, maybe they see other Scottish teenagers on YouTube right now, but there's not a real sense of our culture in the, you know, in the stuff that they're seeing and in the books that they're reading as well. It feels like quite limited. You know, I mean, I'm trying to get them all to read like Alistair Gray's books, like Janine 1982 and stuff I read when I was a teenager that made me feel like, wow, there's these Scottish legends, you know, like these female poets from Scotland and stuff that are just mega. I mean, Liz Lockhart and stuff like that is like why I feel like I could do anything, because she at least is like making interesting things, you know.
Amazing.
But you guys probably have like Scottish people that you look up to who have helped you along the way anyway, like that.
Yeah, I'm so thankful to the Scottish literary scene on so many different levels. I've had some amazing mentors and people, you know, Don Patterson and Robert Crawford and these amazing poets, and so many fantastic women who write poetry in Scotland as well. We're so blessed. But I think you're right, there is a bit of a gap, and I wish, because I want Scotland to be a self-confident place when it comes to the arts, you know, it would be great if we could balance out a healthy film and television industry with those great influences of fantastic work from America and from England and from France and from all over. Because I feel like there was a turning point in Scottish history when we went from accepting these foreign influences as enhancers and things that made us better into kind of feeling like we lack the confidence to resist, you know, outside influence. And I think that is something that still makes me worried for the future, because as I say, I want Scotland to be, you know, a self-confident place that has a sense of its own culture, that knows itself and moves forward through the world as confidently as anywhere else.
as naturally as anywhere else, because that's democratic. That's what's so interesting about Scottish independence conversation. You know, it's really a chat about what it means to be Scottish that's been going on for a really long time. And I think it's amazing that there are these new voices and people coming up in this new time that are so inspiring politically as well. Like, how young is Mary Black, and how amazing it is that she's my MP when actually she's younger than me. And I totally saw her speak so many times in person, and she's so amazing that, you know, you would follow her anywhere. Like, she commands the winds, you know. She sort of like turns a storm into sunshine, and you're just like, okay, Mary, we'll follow you. Where do you want us to go? We'll go anywhere. It's a fascinating time. But I feel like, Natalie, I never chatted to you about Scottish independence that much. Were you in Glasgow when it was going down?
No, I was out here. I was out here in the States.
That's it, because I was in the trenches in Scotland, and John was as well, right? John, you were in Edinburgh, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in Edinburgh during that time.
What was your experience of that, being in Scotland at the time? I can only imagine.
It was. Sorry, Mariana, you were in the heart of it, so I'll let you.
No, you talk about what it was like to be on the East Coast, because that's really cool to know about.
I mean, obviously Edinburgh's quite a small C conservative town. You know, people are not very demonstrative. But I was in the Meadows, and there was a huge group of people with, you know, Scottish and Catalonian flags and all kinds of banners, and it was a really infectious energy. I mean, I went straight back from that to write a poem about it, basically, because I was so wound up and inspired by the atmosphere there, and it really felt like a moment in history where things were changing, and even though, you know, the result fell into the status quo, I do feel like a lot of things changed in people's heads and in society and in the culture in that moment. And so I just felt, because I'd been all over the place, I'd been in America, I'd been up and down to London, I was just so grateful to be in the capital of our country when that was happening, and to see it firsthand, and to be able to kind of register those atmospherics in my heart. It was just so important to be there.
Wow, that's amazing. What about you, Mariana? What was the
Can you share like that poem? Do you have that poem still, John?
It's probably stashed down the back of a drawer somewhere. I'll have to go and find it.
Maybe you can find it for next time and like read it.
Oh, I'll do my best.
Please do.
I'll find it, yeah.
Well, that would be cool. And I always thought Scotland should be independent from the get-go. The minute that the economy was explained to me at the same time as Scottish independence, you know, like when I started to learn about money as a child. And it was just a very natural thing to want growing up in Glasgow, because everyone in Glasgow basically is yes voters. I mean, Glasgow voted yes. And so to have been in that moment and be surrounded by a city that was really voting itself into the future was one of the best moments of my life, even though it was difficult because the overall vote in Scotland wasn't the same. Mm-hmm. And it gave us a sense of how the older generation in Scotland was kind of, you know, what John sort of said about the status quo, like they were really wanting to hold on to that. And the youth in numbers came out like they never had before. And then also, it's interesting because if you look at a map of Scotland between like 18 and 23-year-olds, they all want Scottish independence. That's the majority. Is insane. There's like 80% of them that want it or something like that. And so the future is definitely on the side of Scottish independence, and how we get there is going to be really interesting. And I feel like sharing our voices and chatting about it brings us closer to it. Because certainly when I was growing up, when people were talking about Scottish independence, it just made a lot of practical sense. It seemed very natural for a country to govern itself and have neighbours in England and not masters. So that's going to be interesting to see, because it's definitely going to happen in our lifetime, if not, you know, tomorrow. Now, maybe it'll happen tomorrow and Natalie have to write a song about it.
Do you feel that do you feel that sort of sense of hope that it could be something that happens sooner rather than later? Like, obviously tomorrow is an option, but do you feel that it's sort of imminent that this is going to happen? Or do you think it's going to take a bit more time? Like more sort
I think that's such an interesting question. When is now a new, it's a new concept? Because everyone was sort of really clear that we were going to have another Scottish independence vote after Brexit. And now we're kind of like, well, we don't know when anything is happening. That's the sense I'm getting from the SNP anyway, which is, yeah. I mean, have you heard anything else, John? What do you think?
I mean, obviously, we're in the grip of a global pandemic, so I don't think anybody's really thinking about constitutional politics just now. But I do agree that it was definitely on the to-do list after Brexit, because Brexit was just such a huge political shift from everyone's point of view. I think people's opinions are definitely evolving. I was really impressed by the level of voting that went on and the level of engagement. I remember sitting in a pub in Edinburgh and these two students were debating fiscal policy over, tenants, and I was like, this would never happen anywhere else.
Wow.
And so it was just really special.
They're so educated. They're so educated.
People are very, really dived into it, and I admired that about the Scottish spirit as well. I really felt like everybody was trying to come to their own conclusion and think independently and think for themselves, and I think that's such a good safeguard for any country to have politically. But as far as timelines go, I think we're much better served by good governance and moving smartly and sensibly towards that future that young people want than we are rushing headlong into trying to convince older people and people who are maybe being brought up with some of the spirit that we were just talking about of, feeling an insecure grasp of their Scottishness or a sense of the underdog, that they should do something that seems drastic to them. So all we can do is keep talking, keep communicating, and keep reassuring people that it's, like you say, Marianne, a very sensible, considered and measured choice for the future.
Yes, and anyone who's American or from any continent in the world, they can read a book called The Wee Blue Book, which is so easy to read. It's a fast read and it's very clear about what Scotland is looking at in terms of the economic outlook and why it just makes sense. So that's a wee thrill. There's loads of people who were no voters, and I told them about The Wee Blue Book, and then they, standing in front of me, became yes voters by reading it.
Wow.
And it's a very small book. It's not a big read. It's not thick. It's just very informative.
I must confess I've not read it, and I will. That's good to look forward to that.
Do we?
Yeah, nor have I, but I'll be looking it up.
I know. Have you read it, John? Did you say no?
No, I haven't. I was just saying I'd look it up.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm like, oh, what is this wee book that you speak of?
I had a really intense time because Tara, my niece, was younger than me at the time. I think she was like 10 or something, and maybe she was 12. We were going through a Glasgow version of it, and so everyone was chatting about, little kids were chatting about what it means, like how much oil Scotland might have versus, how many barrels of oil Scotland might have versus Norway. And there were like 5-year-olds saying like, yeah, but, Norway puts their oil on the international market and we wouldn't have to do it. We could sell it, at a higher price. Or that's what Norway does, I suppose, is what the kid was saying. And like, the wee kids were kind of talking about what to do with Scottish oil in this way that made me just really proud to be from Glasgow. Like, I was like, nowhere else in the world are the children discussing what the possibilities are for a country and a country's future. It was such a bright time and just so interesting. And then the wee grannies were like, I would vote for it, and I just was always like, oh man, that's so cute.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. And I like that the Green Party is so connected to the Scottish National Party in Scotland. I like that they chat with each other all the time, and it seems to be very practical to not have nuclear weapons in Scotland when nobody actually asked for them or wants them. So Trident's such a big part of it as well. So I think it'll be cool to see what happens.
It definitely will, and I think you're so right that having that younger generation be so engaged is something we just can't lose. Like, we have to do everything we can to keep that going and to make sure that they don't feel just because things have gone against them politically, things happened democratically that they didn't like, that we then lose them, because I think that's the future that's so important. And to keep having those conversations amongst normal, ordinary people is the most important thing we can do. But at the same time, something like Trident, my dad worked out of Oban for a long time, and there were thousands of people around there who were directly or indirectly employed doing things for the nuclear base there. And it is a thorny issue because for better or worse, it's a very small, isolated community that you'd be pulling the heart out of. And obviously it's a rotten heart, but there's a lot of stuff to think about in terms of how you ramp that down and how you move those weapons away. And if you denuclearize, then what that means for the security of the whole island. So that's the really good point of where it's going to take a huge united front of people opposed to that to actually get that shifted, because there's a lot of resistance there.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about people losing jobs, because that's not something anybody wants to have happen. And so it's really interesting to think about that for the long term, like secure jobs and what it really means, and how many jobs can be added to the country, and locally what it means for every community. That's really interesting. And also I think there's something amazing about Scottish wind power as a concept, because that's like running Europe. They just are getting so much money from Europe right now for Scottish wind power, which is such a good thing for the environment. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Sometimes I wish I wasn't a director or an actress, so I could just work for wind in Scotland. I could just build a turbine and be like, here's another one, guys. But I don't think they need that. They've got people doing that. That's not what they need.
Not too late, Mariana, if you want to.
Yeah, that's what I've actually called you guys here to discuss. Give up your artistic careers and let's just join Scottish wind power.
Done. Let's jump on a plane just now.
Whatever impact we can have, we will do it. We will do it. Yes.
It's good for the environment, that wind power.
It's such an advantage though, because there's, Scotland, I read, had the least population density of any country in Europe. So people are so spread out that, and the communities are often so small that you can put up major wind turbines and it doesn't actually bother too many folk, which is a real advantage. And It's really something that I think is, as you say, helps Scotland move ahead of a lot of other places that are kind of worried about, well, if we put a wind turbine in here, is it going to disrupt people and their access to all sorts of things? So we just haven't had to think about that because there's big open spaces that we can take advantage of.
Yeah, totally.
That's amazing. And let's face it, Scotland is certainly not short of any wind elements.
Oh, no, definitely
no way. I was just there for 4 months over, Christmas, and it's like horizontal rain and wind in your face.
I know. Oh gosh.
So it destroys your outfit and breaks your umbrella, first of all. So there's no such thing for me as a brolly that works in Scotland. So I just get wet, or I bring a brolly that breaks, or gets taken away, swept away with the wind. They all get turned inside out. And it's a ridiculous thing, because even if you get a blow dry, it's ruined within 2 minutes of going out in the wind, because your hair becomes mad again, and it's all your makeup's off. You look it's so natural. That's why we're such natural beauties, because there's nothing we can do except put a plastic bag over our heads, and even then the wind still wrecks it and the rain gets in. It's like a shambles.
It's serious.
Yeah,
It is. A
I
cagoule.
had a cagoule on. I had like so many layers.
I know.
And it just didn't matter.
Actually, I lived in on Benbecula, in the Outer Hebrides.
Wow.
For a
Lucky
few months.
Benbecula, Natalie. When was Natalie in Benbecula, mate? Like, that is like lucky for them.
No, well, I lived there for a few months a number of years ago, and the thing that just struck me is I could not believe is that obviously because it's so exposed, it's like one of the middle islands in the Outer Hebrides, but it's just literally just continually exposed to the elements that it's flat. Like the thing that struck me instantly, like there's no like big hills and all that kind of stuff. I could not believe it. I was like, because obviously we're so used to, in Glasgow, even like major cities being exposed, to the elements like you're saying. It's like a battle to, walk down the road. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In certain points of the year. But up in Benbecula, it was like, just, there's no like big hills. It's just flat because of obviously, over the years. It's just, that's where to put a wind turbine up there.
I'm dreaming about that, the other life of me being a crofter or just a crofter's wife, mate. Like, it's just, I'm thinking about it like anywhere. Just get some guy who happens to be a farmer. He's got some sheep, maybe. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just chilling, but he just needs some company, and I'll just go hang out with him. That's it. That's
a very happy crofter, by the way. That crofter's like, what? I need to keep praying to that god because Alka just fell out of the universe onto my land.
Onto Benbecula. Like, what happened?
Yes, onto the Flatlands. I want to help him with his lamb. Like, I want to help the sheep and do the lambing and stuff. Lambs are so cute.
They are little babies. I know. So cute.
Oh my god, so sweet.
It's really intense though, lambing. It's an all-night affair, and you end up on these like really exposed hills at 4 a.m. trying to like get stuff done. It can be quite trying.
John, have you been lambing before?
I have not been lambing, but my best friend's sister spent a good couple of months doing it, and she came back and looked like she'd been
through a war,
in the First World War battle or something. She was covered, just absolutely exhausted. So yeah, it's really involved, and it takes. And also, there's a lot of blood and guts, and
bits and bobs
going on. It's a full body experience.
Wow. Well, Mariana, prepare yourself for your lambing season with your crofter.
My career shift.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, it'd be very difficult to wear like a ball gown.
I know.
To have to wear something normal.
Lots of cagoules.
Yeah, I've got lots of sequence dresses and heels and stuff, but that's not going to do it. I'm going to have to borrow somebody else's clothes.
I feel like you've got some good jumpers.
I've got good jumpers, but I do also have mega wellies that my mum has for me, which every time I come back to Glasgow, I just have my mega thick wellies that are really epic boots. And they are like farming. They look like farming boots. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not messing around when I go back to Scotland. I'm not like wearing flip-flops in Glasgow or anything like that. Like, it's not like that.
No. You need the wellies for this new chapter with your crofter.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys are also probably aware of loads of Scottish musicians that you like. What are some Scottish musicians that you listen to? Old folk songs or modern, whatever.
Well, I have to just straight up be honest and say my big brother is an amazing musician, Michael Clark, and he is someone I listen to, and it just is an incredible musician. He has like he does like band stuff and solo stuff. He does stuff with his band Acoustic Butterfly, and just an amazing mix of different styles, but there's a real kind of folk, sort of almost like a traditional feel in there, but it's sort of mixed in. He's just, just lots of heart and soul in his music. So that's who I love listening to. What about you guys?
Yes. What about you, John?
Oh, so if we're shouting out local musicians in Scotland, my great friend Sandy Power has a fantastic band called Cornfield Chase.
Oh, cool.
I listen to a lot, and they have like some nice trad like influences, but they're very much indie, and they're pretty wonderful. But I mean, we're so blessed. I was just actually having a conversation with someone yesterday about how much we miss Paolo Nutini.
Oh, Paolo.
Yeah, I love him.
Love him.
Just MIA.
You guys, I don't want to be thingy. I just met with Paolo. I don't want to be thingy, but you just mentioned it. I'm not trying to be a dick, but I just
Star power. Calling Paolo into the room.
Okay, when and where and what?
Sorry.
No, tell us everything.
I just thought the same thing as you guys. I was like, he needs to put music in films, and like he's doing such interesting stuff, right? Like I love his music, and he obviously is from Paisley, which is like basically, you know, my mum's there right now. Like everybody I know is basically from where he's from. So, I just had to meet him locally in Paisley and chat to him about 25 different things, and most of the stuff that I talked to him about was Italy and his music and his family and his like new kitchen and stuff like that. It was just a great chat because he's also, this is so mental, right? But he's also a really big Glow fan. Like him and his sister, they've watched it, and I was freaking out that he was just saying stuff about Glow. Like it was like mind blowing to me because he to me is like sort of like a Jesus figure or something. Like he's really amazing. I mean, it's like meeting an amazing person who's just between us and God. So like that was a good convo. And so yeah, there's so much to be said for local Scottish voices and how amazing it is that they're just helping each other as well. That's what I like about Scottish musicians is they all play on each other's stuff. There's a sense of real camaraderie, and that being a musician is an honour, and it's sort of, you know, it's ancestral in that way that goes all the way back to the beginnings of what it means to be Scottish. So I like that about the people who are around just now.
Mm-hmm. A real sort of sense of community. I mean, even just like I'm based out here in Los Angeles, and I'm still, you know, obviously through like, you know, being connected online, but with this songwriter and singer, you know, musician community in Glasgow in particular. Do you know what I mean? So there's a definite sense of community no matter where you are in the world. I think there's that connection that never goes away. Like, you know what I mean? It's there to stay. It's there forever. It's definitely how I think that Scottish people, it's just a kind of innate feeling that, you know, sort of togetherness, I think.
Yeah, it's like a harmony, and like everybody's in it together, and that feeling of everyone playing music together, or the sense of community. It like feels like we're all just in a theatre company or something.
Yeah, making stuff. You know.
Well, yeah, we actually did make stuff. I mean, like we all spent last year in Alabama. The three of us like went there and did a film together.
I know. Oh, God, how amazing! What an amazing experience. That's the thing. It's like, who would have thought? I never, you know, years and years ago, thinking back, you know, growing up in Scotland, in Glasgow, that, you know, I'd be out in Alabama with, you know, two other Scottish pals, like, involved in a movie. I mean, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Very surreal, actually, to think. Almost in hindsight, it's like you just get on with it, but then in hindsight, you're like, what? That was cool.
Yeah, that's what you said to me when I gave you the script for Collection.
Oh.
You're like, this is cool.
That's cool. Do you know
what
I mean?
Really cool.
It's cool.
Like, like, we're going to go to Birmingham, Alabama. And you're like, that's cool. Like, wow, that is cool. And I was like, I know.
It's true.
It's
cool. True. It's just, you know, just exciting, and just thinking about, you know what I mean, creating something, making something, being involved in something that with other Scottish folk is just, let's face it, guys, that is cool.
It was great. It was like a wee dream come true because I like the script. It's a really good message. And when I sent the script to John, I was just like, can you just do this role? I think I was like, what's your availability? And then I like based getting you the script on like when you could come to Alabama and stuff like that.
It was crazy. I mean, I don't want to swell your head, Palka, but honestly, if I was like designing a director when I was 14 or something, I'd have been somewhere close to where you are. It was a wonderful experience, and it was just amazing. I don't know. I as I say, I've obviously wanted to make art with Scottish people my whole life, and so being able to have the chance to go and be in a thing, and I feel the way you took that script from being kind of a butch, macho, sort of harsh script and gave it real sensuality and space and depth, I just thought was magnificent. And yeah, for me, even to be involved in such a small way as I was just really, really grateful and really happy to be a part of it, and to work with you guys is just wonderful. You know, it feels like we're all on the same page, and like you were saying before, there was absolutely no ego in that project whatsoever, which was just phenomenal. It's perfect.
That's amazing.
That was, yeah, I agree. Such an amazing experience. And the thing that struck me as well, being sort of physically on set, was seeing you at work, just, you know, creating this, you know, piece of art, but also this sort of environment and atmosphere that was really, considering the materials, like, you know, it's a thriller, it was like exciting and scary and all that kind of thing, but there was real heart there that you brought out. And also it was like, it was a feeling, you know, a tangible thing when you got on set, the environment and the atmosphere that you created with everybody. Everyone could feel it, everyone, you know, could sense it, and it allowed everybody just, you know, the opportunity to just open up and just, you know, make this film, and with a real sense of freedom. It's like going back to what we were talking about. I think you gave everybody the space and the sort of security and safety to let everybody just be free and make this thing and tell this story. And it was an incredible thing to see you do that, you know, like in Alabama. I mean, it was pretty surreal and awesome, to be perfectly honest.
It was a welcome to Scotland vibe. It's like, come on in, everyone. Like, come on in, all be in Scotland.
Yeah, it felt that way. It was like, come on in. So actually, I think that was exactly your words to me when I got on set. Like, you were literally in the middle of shooting, and I arrived like in the middle of the day, and you're like, come on in.
Come on in, Natalie. Yeah, because you're the music supervisor. We need you to chat about 5 things right now. And then also, you were so happy. We were so happy.
So happy. I mean, I felt, I mean, I'm not joking. I was like ecstatic. Just every single detail and moment, just taking it all and soaking it all in. And just, you know, sort of...
Because Todd was so nice, and he wrote such a great script, and it was great that he gave us so much, you know, freedom, like you're saying, to go with it and go for it, you know, like Warner, the producer, was kind of like, just go for it.
Mm-hmm. It was,
and I love that.
Definitely, and that was the feeling from you and Warner and Todd, like, as soon as I arrived on set, you know, it was like, just sort of given that creative freedom to, you know, just get
and
stuck
cinematically, in. I shot basically a scene that was supposed to just be a blowjob scene. I shot it with a kilt involved. And so now it's like, because I was like, how would Orson Welles shoot a blowjob scene? And then I was like, he would have it silhouetted. And then, so I knew that I was going to do it like against a window and have the actors between the camera and the window and have it beautiful. But I was like, wait, what else is, what is missing? And one day in Birmingham, when I was like lying in bed in my place that they put me up in, I woke up at like 4 a.m. and I was like, the actor has to be wearing a kilt. I have to just make it Scottish.
That is incredible.
It was like giving me like, I just had so much joy. Like, I literally was like, now I can die happy. Like, I felt like an old woman, and I was like, right, I'll be all right if I die, because I did that scene where that guy is getting a blowjob and he has a kilt on. And I said to the actors, I was like, are you guys cool with this? And they were like, yeah, we're totally into anything. And of course they were really up for everything. So that level of trust was insane as well. Like, when you trust people, they really just trust you back, and it's amazing. And yeah, that is cool. And the film is amazing, and the songs are amazing. Like, thanks for doing the music supervision, and thanks for being such a good actor in it, John. Like, it's so cool.
Thanks, Paula.
It's such a good performance. Like, I was like, this is like a John Grisham vibe. I was getting like a real eerie vibe from your performance. It felt like a novel.
Bringing the eerie vibes. Bringing the eerie vibes, John. Love it.
Always with the eerie vibes. That's what they say of me. No, it was. I think Natalie's so right about the spirit you created on set, and it felt like everybody who was there had known you for a decade, which I know is pretty rare. But it's so refreshing to see somebody, you know, dressed in sparkles, like not wearing a baseball cap, directing a film and being in charge. I was just so happy to see it, and yeah, I'm really excited to see the results.
I'm excited.
I'm always dressed up to direct, and I always wear heels on set, and all the grips are like, are you going to be all right? And like, them just seeing me like run around in heels the whole day, it like makes them, I don't know, it like inspires them somehow. They're like, all right, I have to do my job because Palka's walking around in heels. So, and I'm also like sometimes gaffing in heels. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll do anything. Like, I'll help while I'm wearing heels.
That's amazing.
Do it backwards in heels. Wasn't that...
That's like Ginger Rogers, isn't that the thing?
Rogers,
she did it. She did everything he did, but she did it backwards, and she did it in heels. That's cool. Like that feeling. And I like that we put Scottish export tobacco. Like, there's so many Scottish voices. Like, Natalie and I mean, Natalie like basically combed through everything that's ever happened musically in Scotland and figured out what would be perfect for the film. And we just, you know what I mean? Like, we did some cool stuff. And I just think that there's something about how, I don't know, I think the world's really going to like this film. It's a good message, and collection is something that I think everybody's dealt with too. So it's beautiful. It's definitely well shot, and our DP, Mina, obviously was 9 months pregnant when she made the film. So she made a film and a baby last year.
No big deal. Jane, wow, that's amazing.
While she's like holding the baby.
Overachievement 101.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm excited. You know, because it's just such a cool thing to be part of, and yeah, as you say, the collection, sort of like the story, and that, you know, it's something that people, everyday people are dealing with, is, you know, having debt and dealing with that and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, I'm excited about it and delighted that I was able to be part of it. And it was amazing working with you, Marianne, about, you know, the music and sort of your thought about including Scottish voices, and you know, it's something that's different, and, you know, might be slightly unexpected in terms of the film, you know, the idea of the film, the fact that it includes, you know, I'm excited to see, yeah, just how it all, people's reactions to it, I suppose, you know, excited to
people who have watched it really love it. They have a big reaction to it because it's different, but it's also everybody's story in the sense that, yeah, everyone has debt, or everyone's dealt with debt collectors, but it's such a Romeo and Juliet tale at the same time. Like, with just
such heart.
Alex Pettyfer. I mean, Alex Pettyfer is so great in it. Mike Vogel, Jacques Couliman, like, all the cast are so great. And then obviously Shakira Barrera from Glow with me is my Glow sister, but I asked her to be in this film, and it was so great because that character, like, she got to play a Nicaraguan woman, and that's like so incredible that she's from Nicaragua. And that's also a very kind of like Scottish thing to do. I don't know, like, I when I grew up watching a lot of Ken Loach films, and Carla's songs certainly kind of formed who I was as a person. So when I met Shakira Barrera, I was like, wait a minute, have you seen Carla's song? And she was like, no, I haven't. And I was like, oh my God, our cultures are like so linked in this film, and it's a love story, and you need to watch it. And so when she watched it, it gave her such a sense of joy, and the fact that it was shot in Glasgow, the fact that this woman from Nicaragua was able to have this experience back in the day, I think made Shakira feel like a bit less alone, because Shakira's such a legend, like she's such a movie star. So her performance in this film collection is just amazing. I can't wait for everybody to see it.
Oh yes, her performance is so powerful, so powerful.
Yeah, she's so strong. You're like, oh my God,
wow,
she has strength.
I know.
It was really an honour to watch her work for just a very short time, and she set such a great tone, and she's such a great leader on the set. It was just wonderful to see her go through the gears, and so many gears.
Yeah, she had lots to do on this film, and we had loads of stunts and loads of car stunts and stuff, loads of fight scenes, loads of car stunts. It was an action film. It's like a feminist action movie. I'm into it.
Romeo and Juliet, action, there's all the things. It's just amazing, so amazing.
I can't wait to do more of them as well, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like set up for it.
Hell yes.
And it's cool because it feels like a lot of people right now are taking a moment to develop more things and taking a pause, and it's sort of making everybody go, all right, what are we really the most excited about? And I had a convo today, which is so funny. I had a convo today about, someone was like, do you have any ideas for a podcast? And I was like, it's funny that you're saying that, because speaking of Scottish voices unbound and Scottish accents unbound, I happen to be doing something today at 3:00, and that's this conversation. But the person I was talking to had never heard of original pronunciation in Shakespeare, and so one of the things I wanted to do, it was just do like all of Shakespeare in a Scottish accent on, you know, in a kind of podcast form, as another concept for just radical Scottish voices being out there.
Wow.
In a free way, you know, and that's going to be cool. So we'll just spend there's like, I think there's like 64 Shakespeare plays. So we've got between now and the day of our death to figure all that out, and we'll get it done.
Yeah, you'll be recording for a while.
That's exciting.
It's going to take ages. Natalie, you're going to have to be an actress. You're going to have to take a part. You need to be a witch in Macbeth. Can you handle it?
I can handle it. I'll do it.
Don't worry, all you have to do first. All you have to do is read. You don't have to do anything. Don't try and act. That's the secret to acting. Don't try to act.
Okay. Right, I'm going to take the lessons from you guys, what to do, and I will be the witch.
Yes.
Or one of the witches.
There's 3 witches.
I'll be one of the witches. I'm totally up for that. And I think it just seems like now is a good time to, you know, start and make things, and, you know, I'm up for it.
It does seem like a good thoughtful gap, you know. I think a lot of things feel very adrenaline fueled, especially in Hollywood, where people are desperate to make things, and I just think now if people have some time to read and write and think, we might end up with much, much better art on the other end of it, which is exciting to think about.
That's quality.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. It's like taking time to you know, to create, not necessarily jumping into it, but taking the time to, it's a good time.
Time to clarify.
Yes, I like that, John. I like that.
Yeah, we're like prioritizing.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's nice to, as well, because I think so many people view it as a game that they have to win, and they're just trying to get as many pieces on the board as possible in order to get to the other side. And I think times like this, where there is a pause, just lets people reflect on which projects are actually important, and sort of clears away some of the clutter of the politics of it, just so that you can focus on the actual art itself, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the next time we talk, I want to chat about another thing to do with Scotland, but it's all about Scotland. Can you guys handle chatting to me about that, like the next time we chat?
I would love
Forever
to.
and always.
I would love to. Yes. Count me in.
Your wee voices are so cute on here.
Scottish Voices Unite. We're doing it. We're doing
it in real life.
We're doing it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to
it.
the next chat. Very much looking forward to it, you guys. Thanks for letting me be a part of the conversation.
Thank you for talking to me, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Likewise, it's been a lot of fun, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yes, let's speak again soon.
It's been a total laugh. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.